At this year's Academy Awards, the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once was by far the biggest winner of the night. The film, which features primarily Asian actors and actresses, took home a whopping 7 Oscars and received some of the night's biggest prizes, like Best Actor and Actress in a Supporting Role, Best Leading Actress, and finally, Best Picture. Longtime actress Michelle Yeoh made history as the first Asian woman to win Best Actress in the Oscars' 95-year history. In fact, many movie lovers were happy about the unique film getting the recognition it deserved. In recent years, Hollywood and the Academy have both come under scrutiny for their history of glossing over marginalized groups. For several decades, there were few roles in Hollywood for diverse actors, and even less recognition. One movie critic who's applauding the win of Everything Everywhere All at Once is April Rain, a senior advisor on media and entertainment at Gauge and the creator of the 2015 Twitter hashtag #OscarsSoWhite that went viral and kicked off a movement. Rain believes that Yeoh's win is a step in the right direction for all underrepresented groups.
I think that Michelle Yeoh has had an amazing year. It is long overdue for her to be recognized. So the fact that this is happening for her now is great.
Michelle Yeoh's win makes her the second woman of color ever to receive Best Actress. Halle Berry was the first, winning the award in 2001 for her performance in the film Monsters Ball. At 60 years of age, Yeoh, during her acceptance speech, said this: "Ladies, don't let anybody tell you you are ever past your prime. Never give up." This advice means even more coming from Yeoh because she's living proof of this persistence.
It speaks to not only her ability to get quality roles as a woman, period, as a woman of Asian descent, in addition, as a woman who is more mature in age. All of those factors shouldn't disqualify someone from having a wonderful year. And what we see is that once someone is given that opportunity, they will shine. It's very similar, for example, to Viola Davis in The Woman King, an older woman of color in a very serious action role, right? It's unfortunate that we don't see more of that.
One positive is that things are changing. Back in 2015, when Rain's tweet, "Oscars So White," went viral, all 20 acting nominations were given to white actors, despite there being several critically acclaimed performances by minority actors. The tweet set off a global social discussion about the Oscars' chronic lack of inclusion and the treatment of historically marginalized groups. In response to the backlash, the Academy set in motion new initiatives, one of them being greater diversity amongst the voting members who select Oscars nominees and winners.
The Academy Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences, the people who run the Oscars, committed in 2016 to doubling the number of people of color and doubling the number of women within their membership ranks by 2020, and they did that. In addition, the Academy more recently announced a new rubric for films to be nominated in the Best Picture category that require diversity and inclusion, both in front of the camera and behind it, before a film can be nominated for Best Picture.
While these guidelines are helping a greater number of diverse actors receive recognition, Rain says it's still extremely difficult to make it in Hollywood. For young, budding talents, having connections makes it a lot easier to gain some traction. However, since diversity and inclusion initiatives are relatively new, many minority actors don't get this advantage. Even for people who want to be behind the camera, Rain says this same phenomenon persists.
Many of the roles, especially below the line in film, are unionized. Well, with a union, you can't get in the union until you've done enough work, but you can't work on films if you're not in the union. So it's a horrible catch-22. And a lot of those positions like gaffer and key grip and all of those small credits that you see at the end of films that are very important jobs get passed down from one generation to the next. Oh, my uncle was a key grip, and so I'm going to be a key grip too. Well, if traditionally people of color haven't been able to get into those unions, then that means those jobs are passed down decade after decade to very often white men.
Because of this generational dominance, many positions in Hollywood, including voting members of the Academy, are still disproportionately held by white men. Rain says this gives movies that appeal to this demographic, like war or action flicks, a leg up during awards season.
People feel most comfortable within their own community. So I've never said the words racism or bigotry or discrimination or anything like that. But what I do know is that people will go see films that reflect things that they're interested in, things that they understand, things that they can relate to.
In addition to having a big say on nominations, many members of the Academy choose what scripts turn into movies because of the prominent positions they hold in Hollywood. Rain says a big reason why there's a lack of diversity is because not enough films that get the green light have diverse characters and storylines. And even if they do head into production, sometimes a smaller film that's brilliantly made never gets the publicity.
The Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences still does not require their members to view the films before they vote. I believe that awards should not be participation trophies. They should be awarded based on merit. But if you're not watching the films, then really it becomes a popularity contest who are still the overwhelming majority of Academy membership.
And campaigning for nominations ahead of award season is still common. One example happened this year with the Best Actress nomination of Andrea Riseborough. She was surprisingly nominated after several A-list actors campaigned heavily for her on social media, despite the fact that her film, To Leslie, had little commercial success or critical acclaim. Her nomination caused controversy because while she was recognized, Black actresses Viola Davis and Danielle Deadwyler were snubbed in the same category. And though it's impossible to say if Riseborough stole their spots, many felt that the situation reflected how white actors often have connections that actors of color simply don't.
That's an issue of access, right? So if you don't have friends in the industry who have, millions of followers on Instagram or other social media, then how does one compete in that arena?
While there's definitely room to improve, the Academy has shown progress. According to the Annenberg Inclusion Initiative at the University of Southern California, only 8% of nominees were from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group between 2008 and 2015. Since 2016, that number has jumped to 17%. But while Rain recognizes the increase, she urges Americans to look beyond award shows. She says that diversity and inclusion can only be successful if it's embraced by all parts of the film industry.
I would like to shift the focus away from award shows and start talking about the process at the screenwriting stage. Who has the opportunity to be a screenwriter? Where do those screenplays go once they're written? Who is reading them? And so everybody needs to be thinking about equity and inclusion throughout the film industry.
To find out more about April Rain and all our featured guests, visit viewpointsradio.org. This segment was written and produced by Grace Galanti. Our executive producer is Amira Zaveri. Studio production by Jason Dickey. I'm Marty Peterson. Coming up next week.
My genetics showed a very high sort of association with violence, aggression, and low interpersonal empathy. And those two biological markers then set me on a quest.
Better understanding of what it means to be a psychopath. Then,
America's first subway was really built to get streetcars off the streets of downtown Boston.
We look at Boston this week, the birthplace of mass transit in America. I'm Marty Peterson.
And I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.
And that's Viewpoints for this week. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more about upcoming shows and find a library of past programs on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and more information about our guests at viewpointsradio.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Viewpoints.